Hi, I'm Daniel Fisher here at Sweetwater, and today we are going to be looking at the ARP 2600 synthesizer by Korg. This is the 2600 mini version, or 2600M, and this is also the limited edition. And so this has a keyboard, it has luggage, it has storage compartments for everything, it has cables. And while it is smaller than the full-size 2600, I really got to say, I haven't had any problem getting around on this. It's actually a very good size. I got to also say that I really like its being able to stand up on its own. In fact, the keyboard is really just a separate device, and you could get this one or the 61 key. Later on, I'm going to use the Arturia Key Step. And the key thing is that it all USBs directly to the synth, so it can host external controllers, which is very cool. Basically, the thought behind a 2600 is that it's more flexible, it's more fluid in terms of pitch. In other words, it doesn't have sliders that lock you right into pitch and that's that. You do have to get a tuner and line everything up. But what you get is the ability to just micromanage pitch, and the modulation of oscillators against other oscillators are all here on these sliders. This is called a semi-modular design in that most of the things can be patched from anything to anything, but if you put nothing in it, like I have it here, it will make a sound because all of the things that are printed on the squares underneath are showing you that if you move that slider, you're going to already have that connection. If you want to use the patch cables and plug into something, then whatever you plug in becomes the new thing and it disables whatever's there on the bottom. So what is it? Well, it's got three oscillators, three really good oscillators, and each of them can do sawtooth as well as square. And then this one can do sawtooth and square and triangle and sine, and the square can also be pulse width modulated. And then the third oscillator has sawtooth and pulse as well. So all three also have a fine tune as well as a coarse tune, and you can go very, very wide with that. You've got a preamplifier, you can bring in other instruments. And why is that important? Because you've got an envelope follower that gets the preamp, and an envelope follower is a control voltage that reacts to how loud something is, but then that voltage can be used for anything. You could have a filter open and close like an auto wah. You could do anything that can be moved from voltage from the amplitude of some other source. So drum machines can add rhythm to this, etc. It's also got a lag processor that lets you do glide from the keyboard, or pretty much glide from anything that moves. Like I said, you've got a sample and hold, you got noise, and the noise can go from low frequency only to pink to white. And it has built-in speakers that sound pretty good. Headphone out. Then you got a reverb, which creates a stereo effect that is very interesting. Sometimes I'll be thinking with these speakers that there's a sound farther to the left and right of me than actually is. And you really should watch the larger version of this by Korg, the regular 2600 FS, which was for full size, because I go into every single thing in great detail. So today we're going to just do more about playing with this thing. So I'm taking the MIDI keyboard, which, by the way, has lots of octaves, and I'm going to turn up one oscillator. And I'll show you, you can do the octaves. So tremendous amounts of range sonically, and the keyboard itself is actually pretty easy to get up and down the octaves. And like I said, you can plug in other keyboards as well. There's also standard MIDI in. Besides these 1/8 inch outputs, there's also 1/4 inch outputs on the left here. So now I'm going to show you how to get different oscillator shapes out of each oscillator. When you look at the filter is really your mixer too, because this is where you're bringing all the different audio sources into the filter, and so that's your mixer. It doesn't really have a dedicated mixer, but you get used to that pretty quickly. And right now, the default for oscillator 1 is square, so we're hearing a square wave. If I wanted to hear a different wave shape out of oscillator 1, I would go into here, which now will break that normalized connection, and instead go to sawtooth. So same oscillator, but now with sawtooth. for some reason you wanted both waves, you could do that. You could just take the square wave out and bring it into another part of the mixer. And then we can bring in more oscillators simply by bringing up more of these sliders. We can use the fine tuning to get a nice phasing. I'll bring in a third oscillator. And you have two envelopes, a standard attack decay sustain release envelope, and then you also have an AR, or an attack release envelope, and it just sustains for as long as you hold the key. Each of those can be assigned to various things, either through the wiring or through connecting somewhere else. And then your voltage control amplifier can get either the output of your filter or direct from the ring mod. The Reverb, as I've shown you, has a nice stereo image, and you have complete control over left and right of that. You can also put external things into that and bring it into the Reverb as well. You have separate Reverb outputs. Basically, you just have lots and lots of tools to get in and out of things, whether you're using this all by itself or connected to lots of other things. And so we'll start bringing out more toys as we go. But again, I really encourage you to watch the larger version of this because I go through everything in great detail. And now we're going to just start having some fun with it. Okay, now to show a little bit more flexibility, I'm going to use the Arturia Key Step Pro, which I'm going to be using for arpeggiations. And the interesting thing is, I have this directly connected to the 2600 via the MIDI controller USB port. So it hosts external devices like the micro key or other things. So this will be interesting. And then I also have the Electribe sampler and the Korg SQ64 sequencer, which I'll be using in a moment. But right now, let's just do a little bit of arpeggiation. Okay, now for this last level of complexity, I've added the Korg SQ64 poly sequencer. It is running 3 separate tracks. Each of those tracks is sending a control voltage to one of the 3 oscillators on the 2600. Basically, I've got a high frequency thing going on, a mid frequency thing going on, and a bass line going on. And all of those are MIDI synced to the Electribe sampler over here by Korg. And I have that set just to drums. So the only thing you're hearing drums from is this. The only thing you're hearing synth from is this. There are no other cross sounds. And then effects-wise, over here, I'm adding to the bassline the Aguilar Optimizer and then the Aguilar Chorusaurus. And then all of the other sounds are getting the stereo reverb over here, as well as the source audio Nemesis delay. So just so I get a little bit of echo as well. And then on this, I'll be using the high part and the low part with sawtooth waves, but in the middle, I'll be using a pulse width that's getting sample and hold, slowly changing the pulse width. I've got the keyboard here going through a lag processor, so I have some glide, and that's only going to my high frequency channel. And so I'll be getting some glide on that while the other notes are jumping more quickly. I'm starting really high. And then I've also got mod wheel, which is assigned to the pitch of oscillator A, or the first oscillator, the A track on the sequencer. I hope that gives you some idea of the ARP 2600 by Korg. This is the M version with the suitcase and the keyboard and the patch cables. If you have any further questions about any of the 2600s or any of the Korg products, including the SQ64 or the Electribe sampler, please contact your Sweetwater sales engineer. My name is Daniel Fisher. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Click here for more videos like this, or go to sweetwater.com for all your music instrument and pro audio needs.